Level 1. You chase it first. It feels clean, tangible, measurable. Numbers on a screen, thick envelopes, a signature that makes others lean in. You think power equals money because it looks like control. You buy a suit. You learn to speak like certainty. Doors open. Some smiles are warmer. And for a while it is intoxicating. But late at night, you sit with the echo of a recent win. You notice how hollow the room feels. You notice a silence that expensive music can't fill. You begin to ask soft questions, not the ones that make the spreadsheet gleam, the ones that wake your chest. Who are you outside the purchase, outside the balance sheet? That unease is the first crack. It lets light in. You don't expect revelation, just disturbance. That's enough. You start to look. Level 2. You trade a glossy calendar for a real one. You schedule a conversation with someone you once dismissed. You watch a young colleague succeed without your help. You listen to a friend handle grief without your money. You sit with a neighbor who shares a simple meal. The currency in that room is attention. You feel something like warmth, not profit. You notice your posture when people thank you for listening, how your shoulders drop, how your laugh comes easier. A different kind of influence is at work. It doesn't shout, it holds space. It grows quietly when you show up, not with a headline, with presence. You begin to see power as a frequency, not a bank balance. Level 3. You meet a teacher you didn't expect. It could be a barista, a parent, a child, someone who shows you a rule you didn't know existed. They don't demand anything. They model something. Consistency, integrity, generosity without recording credits. They enact boundaries. They keep them. You watch how people respond. You watch how trust assembles itself, piece by piece. You learn that influence sticks where trust resides. It doesn't arrive with an invoice. It arrives with reliability. You try it. You hold your word once, then twice. You watch the small account of credibility grow. It compounds, slowly, not flashy, devastatingly effective. You realize a quiet math of power. Your worth starts to show in different digits. They are small, a message returned, a promise kept, a door opened without expectation. Level 4. You begin to redistribute your time. Money buys comfort. Time buys intimacy. You find you can be generous with both. You show up at a hospital room. You sit through a rehearsal that will change no one's income. You teach someone your skill and expect nothing back. These acts seem inefficient on paper, but underneath, something reorganizes. You become someone who can be relied on in crisis. You become someone people invite into their lives, not just their transactions. That proximity carries influence. It makes you complicit in other people's joy and healing. You feel power like temperature. It raises the room. You start measuring success in multiplied breaths, not digits. Level 5. A test appears. You have the chance to spend money for impact. You could fund a solution, buy a program, make a big public gesture. You do it. It helps. It gets applause. But then a second choice arrives. To sit with a person and witness their grief. To stay when others leave. To fix nothing but to listen until the knot loosens. You choose the harder persistence. People call it humility. You call it attention. And you begin to see outcomes that money alone couldn't seed. A healed relationship, a changed heart, a belief restored. These don't enter balance sheets. They enter people. And people carry forward what you give. They become vectors. They tell stories. They show up for others. This is leverage you didn't anticipate. Level 6. You lose something substantial. Money can disappear. Markets can shift. It is unnerving. You watch accounts thin. You feel the old fear rise. This is the real test of your new math. You lean on the web of people you've intentionally nurtured. They remind you of your worth, not your cash. They offer labor, counsel, a spare room. You accept help. You accept care. There is no bill for this. There is reciprocal dignity. You notice how resilience now lives in relationships. Your network becomes net worth of a different sort. When you fall, you don't hit alone. That changes everything. It turns survival into shared craft. Power becomes not what you've hoarded, but what you've woven. Level 7. You begin to influence quietly. You stop buying status. You start investing time. You mentor without publicity. You defend someone publicly and sit with them privately. Your gestures are small and steady. People follow not because you're loud, but because you're steady. They trust the long game you play. You realize leadership is slow. It is patient. It is bored with theatrics. It prefers consistency. You watch others mirror you. They keep promises because you did. They choose collaboration because you did. A culture shifts, not by decree, but by repetition. Your power is now elastic. It stretches and holds weight. Level 8. You stand at a window and look back. The scoreboard feels different. There are things money still handles: convenience, speed, access. But true leverage sits elsewhere. It lives in scars and stories. It lives in the quiet receipts of your character. You think of the names people whispered in hard times. You remember the teacher who stayed. You remember the meals shared, the time spent, the calls returned. These are the deposits that outlast markets. You feel lighter, not because you have less need for money, but because you no longer measure power only in its terms. You can choose to spend on both currencies. You distribute resources with intention. You invest where return isn't immediate. You learn to prefer influence that renews. Finale. Power strips away its costume. It stops pretending to be a number and becomes a practice of showing up, a practice of keeping faith with others, a practice of listening longer than you speak. It is humble and fierce. It is small and epidemic. You find that the most revolutionary thing you can do is ordinary kindness deployed consistently. You feel the change in your bones. You sleep differently. You lead differently. You spend differently. In rooms where decisions are made, you bring the person you became, and that person is powerful in a way money never taught you. So when someone equates power with wealth, you smile sobbly. You know the truth is quieter. It's what people say when you leave. It's who shows up when you don't have a choice. It's the trust that follows a lifetime of small promises kept. You count it differently now. You measure influence by return in lives, not returns on investment. You keep going. Small acts, repeated, slow accumulation of belonging. That is your new currency. The camera pulls back. You walk into ordinary daylight. You are not alone. You are steady. You are influential. And your wealth is measured in the people who would carry you if you fell, and whom you would carry in turn. Like and subscribe for more videos.